Hello, welcome to our conversation on the analysis of financial statements. Uh, in this session, we will understand and examine and also calculate the economic value added. We know that economic value added is one of the non-GAAP numbers. When I say non-GAAP number, that means the companies are not required to calculate, record, or um, or present in their annual report. Um, but several companies on their own, as not as a more as a voluntary disclosure, they show the EVA. Um, what is EVA? Yes, it is not a gap number, but it is useful for understanding a company, whether it is able to create wealth for the shareholder. EVA is the excess of not NOPAT minus capital charge. NOPAT is the net operating profit after tax but before interest. And capital charge is a charge for using the invested capital. So if the NOPAT is greater than the cost of capital or capital charge, then there will be a positive EVA. A positive EVA is a company where the NOPAT is greater than the capital charge and it is said to be a wealth creator. But if the capital charge is greater than the NOPAT, then it will be called a wealth destroyer because the company is not able to generate profit to meet its cost of financing. But we have to remember that NOPAT is not a cash flow, it's an adjusted profit. It's an adjusted profit. Why it is necessary to calculate NOPAT, derive NOPAT, even if it is not a GAAP number? In fact, most of the accounting performance indicators like earning per share, return on equity, return on capital employed, or return on total assets, or any other variations of return on investment have certain limitations. Two of the most important limitations, one is called accounting anomaly, the other is called financing anomaly. The accounting anomaly arises because accounting by default based on the generally accepted accounting principles. And the generally accepted accounting principles have certain inbuilt flexibility, which we can call as the gaps in the gap. And it is possible that a company can manage its earnings by managing these accounting assumptions. Therefore, we can say that profit is subject to accounting anomalies. Profit is subject to accounting assumptions. Profit is subject to the assumptions and the policies that the company can take with respect to depreciation, with respect to cost of goods sold, with respect to lease, with respect to capitalization of expenses. Some examples. In the same way, more important item is a financing anomaly. That is, unlike economics or the finance in accounting, we take interest as an expense, but we don't show the cost of equity into the income statement. So interest is shown as an expense and dividend is shown as a distribution of profit. So the sources of money are treated differently in the income statement. So there is a need to keep this in the back of the mind that accounting, the return on equity of a company may be rising, may be very high, but it may not be meeting the expectations of the shareholders. Therefore, to address these two anomalies, we calculate the economic value added. So economic value added is expected to address the accounting anomaly and financing anomaly. But for the time being, in this presentation, our focus will be only addressing the financing anomaly. So EVA is equal to NOPAT minus CC capital charge. NOPAT is an adjusted profit, adjusted for financing anomaly and adjusted for accounting anomaly. But here we are only adjusting for financing anomaly by adding back interest to the PAT. So it is PAT plus interest into 1 minus T. The interest into 1 minus T is also can be explained as a tax benefits adjusted to the interest. So it is interest post-tax benefits. The capital charge is the invested capital into the weighted average cost of capital. But may not be a bad idea to understand this invested capital. Is it same as capital employed that we calculate in return on capital employed? To some extent, yes, but the invested capital is actually recognizes all interest-bearing liabilities without making any distinction between the current liabilities and non-current liabilities. So invested capital is equal to equity plus preference share, preference capital plus interest-bearing liabilities. We can also calculate this from the asset side as assets minus non-interest-bearing liabilities. So now what we will do is, with an understanding that EVA is equal to NOPAT minus capital charge, we'll take examples of two companies from India. One is the Relaxo Footwears, other is the Hindustan Unilever. Hindustan Unilever is one such company which has been showing and disclosing and reporting the EVA regularly, whereas Relaxo has not been showing no EVA on their annual report. So let us pick up Relaxo and just randomly picked up a company, a listed company. Both are listed companies in India and both are doing well. So let me just pick up the Relaxo. Relaxo Footwear is one of the favorable dynamics of Indian footwear industry. This I picked up from the investors presentation by Relaxo management, one of the latest presentations. They are the leading player in the value segment with a large number of strong brands, particularly they price the product in such a way that they can compete with, it makes other competitors extremely difficult to compete with Relaxo. That they might have achieved because of their manufacturing excellence. And they have a pan-India distribution network, and they have a robust financial performance over the last 13 years. So they have about 50,000 retailers all over the country, 650 distributors all over the country. They export to about 30 countries, and they have also overseas presence in the form of in Dubai. Their presence is there. We can see that a consistent dividend payment they are able to do. The dividend payment has gone up from 100% of the face value in 2017 to 250%. So they've been regularly distributing profit. And the amount of dividend, not only as a percentage, but in absolute amount, has also increased from 12 crores to 62 crores, about 5 times the dividend in absolute value has gone up. Similarly, their EPS has also been rising. The EPS was 9.9 and has become 11.71. And along with the EPS, the net worth, which is the equity of the company, increased from 600 crores to 1,572 crores. And let us also get an idea about their shareholding patterns. The purpose of showing this, because this is not something one company which we often talk about in the business schools. Our focus may be on Zomato's, Nyka's, Paytm's, but this companies like Relaxo and all have been creating wealth for the shareholder. So the we can see that about 70% of the shareholdings in the hands of the promoter and promoter group. It's a highly promoter-driven company, and a small percentage is by mutual funds, and a very small percentage from the foreign portfolio investor. So therefore, we can see that Relaxo has been accounting profits have been doing well, is generating year after year profits, and the earnings per share has been rising, the equity has been rising, profit after tax has been rising. But what about the market? Let us see the market. So we can see that in the last 1 year, even in the COVID period, so that in the month of January, the price is about 760, and the today's price is 1279. So therefore, despite the not a very strong or a good business environment, the market price of Relaxo has been consistently rising. And this is not just the case with 1 year. If we take a window of 5 years also, we can see that the price has gone up from 199 in 2017 to 1,279. So therefore, the market has also been bullish. So on one hand, the accounting profits, the financial statements are showing the positive aspects of the company, and the market is also, the price has been continuously rising. So in that situation, maybe a question can be raised, is what is the economic value added? Is the company generating wealth for the shareholder? Because it is not there in the annual report, we made an effort to calculate it. We picked up this data. The source of this data is the screener. All this data that I have shown here is from the screener. And so we can see that to make the calculations, let me just explain for last 2 years. So there is the total source have gone up from 1,841 crore to 2,176 crore, majorly because of the reserves. In fact, they have been reducing their debts, but the reserves have been rising, and the reserves are rising because their profits are continuously been rising. So you have income statement and the balance sheet. So let us calculate the PAT. As we have just seen, PAT NOPAT is equal to PAT plus interest into 1 minus T. So NOPAT is 226 plus interest is equal to 19 into 1 minus T. They have already given the tax rate. So NOPAT is 240,000, 240 crore, 240 crore. And in March 20, and in March 21, the NOPAT increased to 306. And this increase is not just because of the increase in the revenue, but because of the managing the cost. We can see that the cost has come down. The operating margin is in fact gone up. This is one of the important and unique features of Relaxo's strategy. They've always been increasing profits, not just by increasing the revenue, but by managing the cost. And we know that Relaxo has also been positioning the product more as a low-cost product, though they have some premium brands though. So this is the NOPAT. The NOPAT of the company increased from 250 crore to 306 crore. What about the capital charge? Capital charge is equity multiplied by the cost of equity and debt multiplied multiplied by the cost of debt. The capital cost of equity, because the annual report has not shown that, so we picked it up from the other secondary sources, from the NSE and other, and we saw that the cost of capital, which is the expected rate of returns of the shareholder, is around approximately 9.25. And we used that as the common, average cost of equity for all the years that we calculated the economic value added. Similarly, the cost of debt also, for the sake of consistency, we have used average cost of the debt by taking the average of last 10 years interest and the tax benefits of interest. KD is a post-tax interest rate. So we have KD and we have KE, and we have cost, the equity amount and the debt amount. We can see that the invested capital is dominated by equity. So it is a very low debt company. It's more driven by equity. Relaxo is more driven by equity. So therefore, capital charge is equal to KE into E plus KD into D will give us the capital charge. The capital charge is 128 crores and 154 crores. The increase in the capital charge is because of the increase in the cost of in the amount of equity. We kept the cost of equity constant. We can also see that the weighted average cost of capital has gone up marginally from 9.08 to 9.13. So the weighted average cost of capital has increased marginally. And so now we have NOPAT 128 and 154 for the year 20 ending, and for the year ending 21st March. And we have invested capital and we have capital charge. So economic value added, and as we saw here, is EVA is equal to NOPAT minus capital charge. So EVA of Relaxo Footwear is 112 crores in the year ending March, for the year ending March 20, and has gone up to 152 crores for the year ending 31st March 21. So for the last 2 years, Relaxo has been generating the positive EVA, and it's a positive EVA company. So we can say that Relaxo is not only generating accounting profit, but is also able to generate economic surplus, is also able to generate a term called residual income, which are all reflections of the various ways EVA can also be described. But is it that EVA, Relaxo is generating EVA only for the last 2 years? Not really. We did the same calculations for the last 10 years, from 2010 to 2021. And what is interesting and important for us to see that continuously the EVA of Relaxo has been rising. So EVA, so therefore last 10 years, the company has actually generated wealth for the shareholder. No wonder that the market is also positively responding to this particular company. So economic value added of Relaxo shows that on one hand, it is positioning itself as a low-cost product, and it is trying to increase the volumes with a low price, improving profit by improving the efficiency and increasing the operating margins. So market recognizes this, market rewards this type of companies, and this type of companies are said to be fundamentally strong. And but of course, on their annual report, they don't show the EVA directly. But now let us see another company, which is Hindustan Unilever. a very well-known company. This is one company which has been consistently showing year after year the EVA on their annual report. Regularly they show EVA. And how do they calculate EVA? They calculate EVA as the net operating profit, exactly the way we did in our previous example for Relaxo, minus the capital charge. And how did they find the capital charge? The capital charge is equal to weighted average cost of capital multiplied by the invested capital. What is their invested capital? We can see that the HUL is also a zero debt company. It's more having non-interest bearing liabilities. Interest bearing liabilities are minuscule. The HUL is also equity driven company. So cost of capital or CC or cost of capital employed or cost of invested capital and the net operating profit after tax, NOPAT, are used to calculate EVA. And what did we see here? The EVA is gone up from 2,252 crores to 3,810. What is important is to observe that it has been continuously rising, except in the last year, in the latest year, 2021. We may examine why did the EVA of HUL reduce in the year 2020. Often we have a temptation to say that it may be because of COVID, but in fact it is not because of COVID, because we can see that the operating profit has been rising. 5,000 crores, 6,000 crores, 6,700 crores, 7,900 crores. So it is not the decrease in EVA is not because of the decrease in NOPAT. So it is not because of the COVID, but we can see that the decrease is because of the increase in the capital charge. And why did the capital charge increase? Not because their cost of equity did not change. Cost of equity has in fact reduced. But why did the cost of capital increase? Because their average equity has gone up from 7,227 crores has gone up to 46,890 crores. How did the capital equity go up? If you get into the total details which are given in the balance sheet, the increase in the equity is not because of the issue of shares in public, is not because of the retained profit, but because of the acquisition or the merger which got completed in the last year with GSK, okay, the Glaxo Smith and the merger led to issue of shares by HUL to the shareholders of GSK. So therefore, increase in equity is due to the merger of GSK and HUL. And some may ask that why did the company go for a merger? That's a different question. Okay, we are not dwelling into that in this presentation. So, but the reports have shown and have mentioned that the merger of GSK with the HUL has actually contributed to increase in the profits, which we just saw. NOPAT has gone up. It has a positive effect on EBITDA. Merger had a positive effect on EBIT, and merger had a positive effect on net income, that is PAT, and also, therefore, also positive effect on NOPAT. So therefore, if we come back to our conversation here, that one is a listed company, so both are listed companies, but HUL shows EVA regularly year after year, but most of the companies don't show, and so therefore we took an example to show the EVA, economic value added of Relaxo, which we calculated, and we found that the company is showing positive sales, positive growth of sales, positive growth of profits. Similarly, positive growth of economic value added. And so is the case with the HUL. But one of the critical things for the calculation is the concept of the weighted average cost of capital. And within the weighted average cost of capital is the cost of equity. So cost of equity can be calculated by using either capital asset pricing method, a model, or you can use any other like dividend discount models and all. So that is one of the limitations, you can say that. So the calculations that you derive EVA of let us say Relaxo, if you make your own assumptions, it is possible that the EVA of Relaxo based on our calculations here may not be same as the EVA of your calculation, because these are the calculations that we made here. We can see that I took average of 10%. The average, the rate of interest is equal to, has been fluctuating quite significantly in 10 years, from 17 to 16.5%. And so we took the average of the post-tax interest rate. So depending on your assumptions with respect to cost of equity and the cost of debt, the EVA may change. So to summarize, the objective was to understand this concept of economic value added. The idea is to see that how different is EVA from the other indicators of performance, which are shown by the company's financial